Morning, it's so early.
Oh, it is early. Everybody.
Thanks for everyone from the West Coast for waking up at 3 a.m.
Just to see you. And
just
me,
to
of
see
course.
you.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Suck down that coffee, guys.
Not here for me, they're here for you.
So for those of you who don't know, you should know. If you don't know, then maybe you're at the wrong conference. But Giphy is a search engine for GIFs. And it is has a suite of tools that let you share GIFs and create GIFs and everything else you can do with a GIF, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I guess how I wanted to start the chat is, GIFs have been around for a long time. Why are not only publishers and platforms so excited about it, but consumers? I mean, it's the growth in the popularity of GIFs has just been extraordinary, and I'm wondering why now.
I think GIFs, the essential nature of GIFs, they're just short, silent videos. Those have always been around since the invention of cinema. It's been, we've always referenced scenes from movies. We've referenced quotes. We've, alluded to certain imagery in cinema and TV. But really, the technology hasn't really been there to share it. It's just exactly like the time when, the printing press was invented. We could put out books into the world. Photography was invented. We wanted to capture, before then you had to paint. And now the mass population could put out GIFs or photographs into the world. And you just see recently, Tumblr started it all. So shout out to Tumblr for doing a really good job of being the first platform to allow GIFs to play natively inside a social network. And since then, Photoshop, Final Cut, After Effects, all the tools that were pretty esoteric to the filmmaking industry were available to the rest of the world. And now we are able to cut things and send them across the internet. So essentially, the demand had always been there, but the technology just hadn't caught up. And only in the recent years has the technology been available to cut these moments of human culture and information and send them out into the internet. And that's why you can see, we serve about over 1 billion GIFs a day, and that's because of the demand of people wanting to share these moments to reference themselves to this kind of information and share them out to their friends and express themselves.
Cool. And when we got on the phone to prep for this, you're like, we could talk about competition, but we don't really have any. Let's not do that. And so I think it's a good time for us to talk about competition.
Awesome.
Imager, Rifsy, and even Google to an extent, everyone wants to be a part of this market, and there's no doubt that you guys are very dominant in it. But I know you guys just acquired GIF Grabber.
Yeah, GIF Grabber now is Giphy Capture. It's an awesome tool for making GIFs from any video on the internet. You just put it over your screen capture, and it turns into a GIF.
So you could potentially buy Rifsy, but you can't buy Google, right? So
someday that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be super cool and quite the headline. But when you have another search engine that is so powerful, they don't have the same database as you guys do or the same tagging system, et cetera. But you know that Google wants this space.
Yeah, I think, well, the GIF space, just to give you guys some reference on it, it's still small. My mom doesn't know what a GIF is. Most of the world doesn't know what a GIF is. There's room enough for everyone to be a part of the GIF space. What we're trying to do is make the entire space popular. So anyone who is working in GIF technology, we want to work with you, everyone. So we've always tried to do our best to work with everyone that's out there. We've acquired technology like GIF Grabber, and Andy Hin, who made GIF Grabber, is amazing tools. Now it's Giphy Capture. Pretty much anyone who's out there. So if you are working in GIFs, it's a huge industry that's going to happen, because we're basically just making photographs move. And so if you think about the photography landscape of how many companies are part of that industry, there's room for all of us. And so we'd like to work with everyone. So in terms of competition, in terms of GIF search engine, we're the largest GIF search engine. But everyone has a particular, that's what we do. Other people are keyboard companies. Other people are headlines of the internet. Other people are social networks. We are a GIF search engine. Absolutely.
Let's talk about Giphy Cam.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you know what Giphy Cam is. Okay, that's what I thought. There's 5 or 6 hands up. Giphy Cam, I thought was a genius idea, and it still is. But I don't hear people talking about it. I expected it to really take off. Can you give us kind of a progress report on Giphy Cam?
Yeah.
I don't hear a lot about it anymore.
Giphy Cam was our first GIF camera. So it's It's a camera. It's an app for your iPhone. It was awarded. Apple named it one of the best apps of 2016, one of the top 25. It's won a lot of awards. You basically can take a GIF. You can put filters in like Snapchat or other things, and then send out a GIF to your friends on social. So this is again like it's very popular with a small set of audience. As soon as people know that it exists, more people will start using it. But after that, Boomerang, Snapchat filters, pretty much everyone is coming into the space, and this is good because it's popularizing the idea of these short moving images across social networks and across messaging. So yeah, I think Giphy Cam was one of the first to kind of really start the trend, but now there's a ton of other apps. But as soon as more and more people are exposed to these applications and that you can actually take a GIF on your camera and send it. I mean, live photos is basically another version of a Giphy Cam. They just call it something else. Boomerang calls it something else. But essentially, they're just short, silent videos, just like GIFs being sent out in the world.
And that also goes into the whole idea of GIF has kind of been used as this term that it's not always a GIF file type, right? It's
it's kind of like the Kleenex of facial tissue or the Xerox of paper. When it was invented in '87, it was a specific format specifically used for putting, construction signs on your website, and when you were in constructing that you were never going to build ever, which you can still see some websites. I think I have a few that still have that thing on it. But now it's just kind of used as a catch-all phrase for any short 3-5 second video that loops. And we have 20 different renditions of every GIF that comes onto the site, MP4s, WebPs, WebMs. So really, live photos, we support those. So GIF really is about the time segment and the concept versus the actual format itself now. Just like photographs aren't like silver plates anymore. Photographs can be digital, they can be print, they can be anything.
Right. And swinging kind of back to Giphy Cam, one of the interesting things about it was that you guys never built a feed into that app. And in fact, there's no Giphy product at all that has that social feed aspect to it. And I guess my question is, when you're taking something that is inherently fun, right? GIFs are about having fun and expressing yourself. It's not a utility. It's not like Uber is to transportation, right? We don't need it, we want it. And so when you don't build that stickiness into it, I mean, I want to understand that decision-making process, right? There's not a whole lot of stickiness to Giphy.
Yeah, the stickiness is in utility. So you have two options on the internet. You have the option of creating a social network and then trying to figure out how to get people to stay there, and so giving them utilities. Or you have the option of building a utility and then having people come use your utility every day. Like Google, for example, is the most popular site on the internet, but isn't a social network. They've tried, that hasn't really worked out. Other social networks have tried to build, like MySpace, had a lot of people, but tried to build a utility, and that didn't really, that got boring over time. So Giphy has never been about building a social network. That if you're going to go to a social network, go to Facebook, go to Tumblr. That is the community of people sharing things and talking to each other. We want to be a utility. We want to be the plumbing that takes all of that content into other places in the world. So just like Pinterest says they're not a social network, that they are a utility, we see ourselves as fundamentally first a utility so people can start expressing themselves, finding GIFs, and sharing them on the internet. That makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah. No social network.
No social network. Okay, so
that's a hard, if you ever started, I had a social network before this. It's the hardest thing to do. I mean, shout out to everyone who's ever made a successful social network. That is a struggle. I mean, Facebook will just kind of Facebook is like the social network, right? So
yeah.
It's very hard to compete with Facebook. So if you can build a utility, that is and people use it every day, that is the easiest way to build something meaningful on the internet.
Can we talk about live GIFing for a little while? Because I think maybe you guys don't realize, but when you go on Giphy, the night of the Oscars, and you see Lady Gaga walk by Leonardo DiCaprio, you guys had that up within a couple minutes, right? So how does that work?
So we have deals with the Oscars and most of the major events that are going on, and we have an entire team of editors on the West Coast and East Coast that sit and make these moments officially for our partners as they're coming out. So we're there ahead of everyone because we're actually have the feed at the time making those GIFs, so that the Oscars, for example, Oscars 2016 is a page on Giphy, and we officially make all of those for them. So like every day we have another event of some kind that we are the creators and the curators of that event. And so we're helping all the partners that are having events that want GIF versions of those create the content.
Right, and what would you say is like the biggest vertical in terms of live GIFing? Is it sports? Is it like in entertainment?
Right now it's just what you think would be in popular culture. Right now it's a lot of award shows. So the VMAs, the Oscars, Emmys, Golden Globes, anything in TVs, movies, celebrities. People still think that cats are the #1 searched GIF on the world. And a lot of people watch cats, but 80% of all the content seen on Giphy is from TVs, movies, and celebrities. It's mostly pop culture. I mean, if you do any kind of search on the internet, everyone knows that. Like, that is really the medium and the format that is that people are searching for.
Well, and I want to come back to what you just said, because you said you have deals with the Oscars and the VMAs, et cetera. Deals implies that there's money changing hands.
No, we're doing this purely, again, GIFs are just a small population. We're doing a lot of work to bring GIFs to become mass popular on the internet. Most people still don't even know what a GIF is. Like, I talk to most people and they're like, I think I know what that is. Isn't that from like the 80s? And so we're trying to get to a point where our deals with, for example, the Oscars are, we will cut all of these GIFs, we'll put them out in the world for publishers to come, write articles about. They'll get attribution back to you. We'll give these GIFs all to you. They're your content. And they allow us to do this. So it's a trade of work for the rights to not sue us for distributing their content.
Right, and you've raised a ton of money,
yeah.
Right? Like, we're past 100 million at this point.
No, I think totally we have about 75 million total raised.
So close, good enough.
Getting close.
Potato at this point. But you're not bringing in any money, like you just said. There's not revenue deals here with these guys. What is the revenue plan? So
right now we're still, if for all the startup people here, we're still on that exponential hockey stick growth, and it's not really slowing down. So we're trying to see how big is the GIF market. So all of our funds right now are into accelerating our growth. So if you are in the startup world, we're in that growth phase, right? Pre-revenue growth phase. We're still growing, so it's hard to keep up. We've done multiples. We've grown 2x since in the last 2 months, and if that keeps up, we'll be like, we'll need another round of funding.
Right.
But
we'll do another round of funding, or make money, right?
Or make money, yes. So.
And there are a number of ways to do that. I think
money.
we should zero in on that right now. Okay, that's what we're trying to get at. So,
like, ultimately, we're going to make money.
Obviously.
We've had since day one, we've had a revenue plan in place. People are like, like you haven't really been thinking about it. We've been thinking about this since day one, and one of the reasons is getting the license deals. So now that we're there are a bunch of different revenue models here, but you can see one of the major ones are mobile messaging. So how do you get an ad into mobile messaging? What do you send text links? Mobile messaging, people are sending hundreds of billions of messages a day. How do you get native advertising into mobile? Like, GIFs are the perfect format for that. 80% of all the GIFs we send are branded GIFs, meaning that they're from TVs, movies, celebrities that we have content deals with, right? So you can see that in a world where mobile messaging and mobile needs an ad format, GIFs are kind of the perfect medium. Also, like, if we're serving 1 billion plus GIFs a day, some percentage of that being advertising in the future could be there. We also can charge for getting the content into the system. We do a lot of editorial work to bring all of the content in and then have it exposed to all the distribution networks. So you can see that in basically what Google is doing in terms of hyperlinks. Imagine if every hyperlink were a moving image, and they're making billions of dollars. We're going to do the same thing with highly more engaging images that move.
Right, but I want to get back to the mobile messaging bit, because like AdWords, that's pretty obvious. You guys are a search engine, so like,
yes.
Okay, duh. But like mobile messaging and bringing a native ad into messaging is really interesting to me, because the idea that I could, for example, Slack one of my friends, Friday night, and it shows them, Jim Beam whiskey or something like that, right? Like that's a compelling ad that's almost incognito and flies under the radar.
Yeah, we don't do any of that right now. We would work with the distribution partners to do that in the future. But yeah, you can see a world where when people are texting GIFs through any medium that they're texting GIFs, that they're mostly looking up expression, hungry, they grab a McDonald's GIF, send it to a friend, and then that is an entire kind of ad ecosystem right there.
Yeah.
So everyone in mobile is trying to figure out, how do we start making revenue on our mobile messaging and on the entire messaging platform? And GIFs are the perfect medium for doing that. And so all those models have to be explored, and we'll be exploring those very soon.
I agree with that, but my question, I guess, is like, how do you target, right? Because like, how much information do you actually have about your users? You know what GIFs they search for,
yeah.
But it's not like a Google where they have like your entire search history. So when you think about launching like an ad network of any sort, or ads within messaging, which would be the GIFs themselves and your distribution platform, like how do you target at that point? What information do you use, and what do you have?
So we get a lot of information inbound on where the people are viewing GIFs. So some of our API partners, it's opaque, but we do have pretty good tracking on where images are going and where they're going to. So we know like demographics of which networks, for example, on Tinder, we know that Tinder is looking for a bunch of flirting GIFs, which is obvious. So on other networks, we know exactly what searches they're doing and what they're looking for. We don't use any of this information right now, but that's just to get the search better so that we can serve better content. And then in the future, you can see how that could be used to serve better advertising with the distribution partners. We also have our own tools like our keyboard that can directly send GIFs as well. And we also have our website that has a lot of traffic that we can monetize as well. So we do have a lot of information on users coming in and their search patterns. And so we have we have terabytes of analytics every day that we're sorting through.
The keyboard is also, like you said, a good point, because if you have people's messaging habits, essentially, then you know a lot about them.
Yeah, we have our search app too. We have a lot of apps that are putting out. We have a lot of info on our website. We have a lot of info from the API partners that come in.
I do want to talk quickly, we have a little bit of time left, about Giphy Keys. You guys launched it last week. And my main question is, what the hell took so long? Like, keyboard seems so natural. I've been waiting for this for so long. Why did it take you 2.5 years to do this?
We've actually did 5 different versions of the keyboard since the day one, and they just never felt right. And Apple's keyboard ecosystem wasn't quite right yet. And there were some really good keyboards out there. PopKey was the first keyboard. I love that keyboard. That's really good. We've invested in a couple keyboard companies, like Giphy is a really good keyboard. Slash is a really amazing keyboard. Won Tech Product Hunt App of the Year last year. And there had been some good keyboards. And then once we found our point of view, we were like, okay, we do need to put out what we think is our best. We had an entirely different point of view than all the other GIF keyboards out there.
Yeah.
We wanted to be very minimal. As you're texting, it's not like you have to switch. You can just stay there and text and then put a GIF in. And so once we've discovered that, we're like, okay, it's time to put out our own keyboard. And again, the keyboard market is pretty small. So this is just another app in a suite of apps we're putting out. Anywhere that you can distribute a GIF is we want to build an app or work with other partners to build apps. So we actually power a lot of other keyboards out there. And we just want to support that ecosystem. So again, we want to work with everyone, because we don't believe that one keyboard is going to win the entire space. We think probably everyone will have a particular keyboard they like, and we want to power all of them, because we want to bring all the content to the keyboard.
I mean, the keyboard is almost like a sales tool for your API in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and a lot of our partners are using their API to distribute content and give good user experiences. One thing we talked about is we're partnering with Slash Keyboard in this fall, actually in 2 weeks, to launch an entire branded keyboard platform where they have an entire really cool platform where you can just click a couple buttons and create a branded keyboard. So we're offering all our content partners free branded keyboards in the next couple weeks. They'll just be able to go to Slash, click a couple buttons, hook up our API, and then launch an entire keyboard. So there could be hundreds of keyboards in the next few weeks. And that's a good thing for the GIF ecosystem and for everyone that's putting content out in the world. Because you can make customized experiences for people to send GIFs around.
Cool. So we're pretty much out of time. My last question is like an age-old battle, essentially. Is it GIF or GIF? I hear you saying GIF a lot. I say GIF. So we're going to put it to rest right now. I know he didn't create it, but it's like almost the same thing. What?
We officially support both, but
Oh.
but
we diplomatic crap I've ever heard in my life.
No, because there are a bunch of old people that don't really like. You don't want to call them out for saying GIF.
But you just called them out as old.
Yeah, I know. So you're either from San Francisco or you're really old, and so you say GIF. GIF is like this, what we're saying is GIF is this old thing that people kind of way back in the 80s are like a little curmudgeon-y and talk about GIFs as like this nostalgic thing. The future is really, like we're trying to reclaim that term as GIF, as GIF means a totally different thing than that 80s blinking under construction sign. GIF is this entire new kind of generation of content and content producers that are being sent out in messaging. So if you're sending stuff in messaging, you're probably sending GIFs. You're not sending GIFs. So say GIF. Obama says GIF.
Say GIF. You heard it here first. Or again, for the 100th time. All right, Alex, you're free to go, dude. Thank you. Big round of applause for Alex.
Thanks, Jordan.